Welcome to the Church of Jesus Christ. I wrestle with this each week, so I'm not going to this week. I'll just say welcome to the Church of Jesus Christ. We have a visitor here, a wonderful young man who has been my text partner this week, and now we get to do a little face-to-face. And we've chatted just a little bit this morning. And as each of you came on, I identified who you were and where you're from. And so I started saying California and Ohio and Michigan and Pennsylvania. And then Leah came on and made us international. I said Scotland. And so as we are very, very small today, especially, we're much larger online. So it's nice to see everyone here, including Kentucky, by the way. So we also have Kentucky. So God bless you all. And I pray that the Lord blesses you. And I pray that the Lord's message comes through and that I would not get in the way of that. Okay, a few confessions. As it's church, it seems appropriate to offer a few confessions. First off, I shop at Amazon.com. And the confession is, I immediately, as soon as I go on Amazon, I immediately go to today's deals. And then I go to what's available for Prime, and then I go to early access, and that's where I shop. I never seem to venture away from the daily deals. I also shop at Costco, and I'm so spoiled with Costco that I don't just go there to buy. I go there to buy the discounts. I look on every label. If anyone knows Sam's or Costco, you know this. The orange juice is always in the same place in the freezer. The coffee is always in aisle 19. And everything is always in the same place. Candace goes to this strange section that my feet never take me into, and that's the clothing section. I never go in there in Costco or Sam's, but she always goes there. So she knows the slacks are always here, the blouses are here, and then some things are based on season. Like she'll see flannel shirts about this time of year. But other than that, everything is in its place. I have to add butter for my bulletproof coffee that I drink daily. I know exactly where that butter is. I have different things that I buy. I know where they are. But if they don't have a sale price, I'll wait till next time we come to Costco. So my focus in shopping is find the value in everything that I look at. When I drive, if I see an older foreign car, so your car's at risk. I want you to know that logo outside. I see an older, well, yours is not as older. I shouldn't say that. But if I see an older foreign car, I'm drawn to it. And if it says for sale on it, I'm pulling the car off the road. I don't care how much of a hurry I'm in. I'm looking to find the value. When I bought our car, the car I'm in right now, confessions continue. When I bought this car that I'm driving now, my brother called me. He said, I was in Boynton Beach. I saw a car that I think is yours. He said, I said, did you price it out? He said, yeah, I priced it out. I said, did you negotiate for me? He said, I can. He went back, he negotiated, sight unseen. I flew down, purchased a car and drove home. Find the value. That's my focus. Find the value. And it's just kind of always been that way in whatever that might be. So this morning, with that thought in mind, there is a more significant value that we have to find. Understand that the first word in that phrase, find the value, requires a search. It's not just go to an aisle and see that a price is down. It's you're searching for that value in whatever it is. I will tell you this too. I don't just buy whatever's on sale. I buy what I want when it's less price, when there's a better value for me. So having said that, I want us all to understand that a key word is find, is search, is discover, is identify, which means it's not easy. I wouldn't have sent just anyone to find the value in that car that I wanted to buy. My brother is really good at understanding cars and seeing value. So I sent someone much better than me to find the value. The question today is, do we have that focus to find the value in what may seem less value? I was going to say valueless, but I want to be really careful with how I say that. So one of the values, or the value that I'm speaking of this morning, was born from a talk I gave at football a couple weeks ago. And that thought has just stayed with me, almost like an accountability, almost like heavy on me. And so it made its way into my thoughts this week and made its way into this morning's message. So we're going to get there. I think that even that thought that I brought to our team, and I'll share that in a moment, was probably born when I was 10 or 9. My mom used to go shopping at the West Palm Beach Mall, and my dad did not. He did not like shopping, but my mom didn't drive yet. And so I found it was my dad and I often, but maybe my dad took my brother and maybe he took my sister on different times. So this is my recall. My recall is my dad and I would sit in a Walgreens in the mall. There were no windows on the mall side. It was just open, just completely open. The entire thing was open. And he would get a coffee and sip that coffee for an hour and a half sitting there, and maybe every now and then get a refill. But truly, I'd get either a Coke or a pop of some sort. He'd get a coffee and we'd sit for an hour and a half. And he was teaching me a skill that I hope I still embrace. And it's people watching and nothing more. And we would sit for an hour and a half, and just watch and study people. And it's a remarkable hunting trip. I do it today. If I as we started to text this week, studying everything you said, dissecting, seeing where it came from. As you all talk before I come on, especially my Tuesday nighters will be alarmed. They probably can see the box that's open but no face, no anything. I'm usually right there and I'm listening. I'm listening to everything that goes on, reaffirming everything I think about all these people. And it's always pleasant. It's always nice. And so I love doing that study of people. Aubrey took a test a while back, probably a month and a half ago, and she sent it to me. Enneagram, I think it's called, but I think I'm pronouncing it wrong probably. And you take this test and it's a personality dissection, and it comes back and tells you what you are. And so Aubrey has been asking me to do this. She is our therapist. Aubrey has her degree in therapy. My minor is in counseling. And so I don't know why she wanted me to take this. Maybe she's going to infect the entire family with this test, but I guess I was the first guinea pig. So I took it, and she was away this week with her husband, and I texted her and I said, how did your test go? I said, I just got my results. And then I started torturing her with 1-word, 2-word texts, trying to get out of her how she scored. End result is we were exactly the same result. And I had zero surprise at that at all. To the core, I think, especially in this vein, people watching and studying people, she is confirmed as my child. So there was no surprise there. And this is something I love. I love to do this. I love to view you, watch you, listen to you, hopefully serve you in some capacity when I get to know you a little better. And what I found, generally speaking, is there is used to be an undercurrent. Now it seems to be, I don't even think it's a word, an overcurrent. Now it seems to be just out there. And there's an anger or a sadness or an undertone that is now kind of permeating in society that just is so disturbing to me and really so sad. And in some ways, even an ugliness to behavior in the way we treat one another, whether it's in a parking lot, whether it's in a store, wherever it might be. I just find that it's now at the above the skin level. Maybe it used to be under the skin, and now it's just out there. And I hear more from people today than I ever have before, that they struggle with people. They struggle with liking one another. And that brings me just a deep sadness. Remember what we're talking about today. find the value. So some of these cars that I come across, I'll look at, and the facade is rust or they're beat up and they're not very attractive. But when you start digging deeper, you can see what's really there. So you have to search to find the value in these vehicles. I would say the same is true about one another. That to find the value, you got to dig a little deeper. But in finding the value at surface level, I often think that we cross a line in searching to find the value. And what I mean by that is we begin assessing, and assessment touch on judgment. And all of a sudden we're assessing whether that individual that we were trying to find value in the beginning, we're only seeing the rust spots. And so now we're saying, I don't know if I can like that person. I don't know if I can love that person. I don't know if I can have any concern for that person because I'm not finding the value. And it's harder and harder and harder for individuals. But where that touches on is we start to wonder, is that person worthy of my concern? And all of a sudden, we separate ourselves on a plane of judgment. Is that person worthy of my care? Is that person worthy of my love? Is that person worthy of me liking them? And that's when we go south. That's when we make probably the greatest mistake of all. Because in that thought, I wonder if God doesn't have that right completely when he looks at me. Is that person really worthy of my love? Is that person truly worthy of my concern and my care? And I know the answer. It's no. I'm neither worthy nor deserving of any of that. So who am I to withhold from someone else? So find the value. So a week and a half ago on a Wednesday, I introduced a trick in my introduction to my talk. And I said, I've been empowered today to bring to our team the fact that it's near the end of our season and we have to pick an MVP. And I allowed brains to run so they could get to their conclusion. We're going to vote today on the most valuable player. And so I meandered for a while, as I do naturally, as I often do. And I finally brought them to what the MVP was. MVP was most valuable person. And I'll say Coach Oldham, but Lonnie, Coach Oldham does a bring the team together rally cry, which is everybody. And the idea is who's important to the team. Everybody. Who's going to help us win? Everybody. Who's going to keep us from losing? Everybody. Whatever you want to ask in that question, the answer is everybody. And so the answer to the question, who is the MVP, is everybody. Now, that's not easy. That's not easy to conclude. That's not easy to come to. That's not easy to, after the cheer ends, if the young people start to think about that. Is this person truly as valuable as this person? Now, it's easy for a coach to value the best players. That's a common thing that any coach will assess. You can quickly find the best players, if you will, on any team. I learned this morning that Logan played lacrosse. I'm assuming it's the same with lacrosse. I've played different sports. I have seen it in every sport. Immediately, you can identify the best 1, 2, 3 players. Immediately, sometimes even 5 deep. We are a team of 40 young people, very small high school. We're a team of 40 young people total. I can go to the other side of that list and identify more that don't hit most valuable player than going to the top of that list to find those who hit most valuable player. So to then say that everyone is equally valuable as a person can get confusing. Because on a football field, on a baseball field, on a lacrosse field, we may value differently based on skill sets. I don't think it's different in life. I think we find the big personalities, the charismatic people, those who draw people in, those who are fun to be with, and we value them differently. I felt really compelled this past Friday. Lonnie gives me an opportunity to take our team and take them and quiet them down. We do different things in when we have this half hour, 45-minute point after they eat dinner, just to get them calm, get them focused on what they have to do that evening. And so we calm their spirits down. And this week when we brought them, some literally sleep during that time period. When I hit the lights abruptly to awaken them and bring them out of their stupor, we come together for about 10 minutes to talk. And usually I talk first. I get them down, I get them rested, and then another coach will speak to them. And this week I felt to speak first. And I said to them, building off of the MVP talk that I had with them, that I wanted to share a story. And maybe some of you have heard this, but I'm going to share it again today because it so goes with find the value. So Candace and I were in New York City, and this is a story I shared with my young people. And all of this from the beginning, when I began talking to now, really falls under what's our purpose and what was the purpose of Jesus Christ. So we'll get there. So Friday night, I shared with them a time that Candace and I were in New York City together. And while we were there, we left our hotel, our beautiful hotel that our company was paying for. I was dressed for work, so I was probably in a coat and tie. I don't remember, but probably in a coat and tie. And we were walking, I think strolling, not going anywhere purposeful, just two young people in New York City, and that was a thrill just to be there. So we started walking, and as no one would be surprised to find, and we weren't either, we came upon a man who was obviously destitute and begging, asking for money. And he held his cup out, and we had the option to give to him some money or to pass him by and pretend like you don't see him. You know, we all know the posture. You keep your eyes straight, don't look down, and there's no accountability. So I stopped, and I told him I was unwilling to put any money in his cup, but we would take him to have breakfast if he wanted to go have breakfast. And he quickly confessed that I was right, that had we put money in his cup, he said, I would have misspent that. He said, I understand why you said that, but I've had breakfast, he said. So I don't need to be taken to breakfast. He was exonerating us from giving him money, telling us he was guilty as charged, and not from judgment, just from an assumption. And I decided to invest rather than change or a couple dollar bills. I decided to invest time with this man. So I stopped and I talked to him. And Candace, I don't remember if you were uncomfortable. I don't recall that morning well enough, but I spent 15 minutes with him easily. And we talked at length. I uncovered the fact that he was in New York City, but he was from Ohio. I uncovered the fact that he was the father of 3 children who were still in Ohio. I uncovered the fact that his wife was still in Ohio. He was not divorced, but he also didn't know if she had divorced him since he was gone for 2 or 3 years. He didn't know his status with his family. And when he told me about his children, he broke. And his voice cracked, and I heard sadness in his voice. And then he began to tell me how and why. He told me how it began with alcohol. I began drinking. It changed my personality. It created all kinds of problems in my marriage. And then it turned to drugs, he said. And I'm not going to walk. I remember him telling me, I'm not going to walk you through every single thing that I went through. He said, but this is the result. And as he was talking, I don't mean to be, I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable with this, but I'm going to make the statement because it's important to it, to the story. As he was talking, he began to talk with his hands. He stood up, by the way, and we were talking face to face, which was wonderful. But as were close enough, I could smell him. And he smelled like he had been sitting on the street. And you're gonna have to run with that in your own mind. But I remember just being so sad for this condition of this man in this moment. And so when as conversations go, you could tell when it ended. You could tell we had nowhere else to go with our conversation. And he thanked me for stopping and talking. He said, no one does that. Everyone just passes by and they clear their conscience. He said, by dropping coins or dropping bills in my cup. He said, and I'm thankful for it, but that's all I ever get from anybody. So at close, I asked him if he was comfortable with me hugging him. And I don't remember his reaction. I don't remember if it was welcoming. I don't remember if it was no, but what he didn't realize is I was coming in anyhow. Didn't really matter. It was only a gesture of approval or acceptance, but I wasn't listening for the answer. So do you mind if I hug you? And I was already moving in and he saw the shark was going to hit no matter what. So he put his arms around me. And I told my young people on Friday night the same thing I'll say to you. The trick to hugging people is, when they're done hugging, they pat you on the back, right? If you hug someone and it's usually 2 seconds and no more, especially if it's a man and a man, you're gonna get that tap on the shoulder. If you hold 2 seconds past that, magic can happen. Not always, but that's when the magic can happen. That's when the hug becomes more. So this young man in a shirt and coat and tie, who people would have passed and seen as successful or something, would have been valued, would have been assessed as worthy, was hugging this man who would have been assessed quite the opposite. And I don't know if my new friend was a benefactor of this hug at all. I think he was from the result, but my life changed. And as we hugged and I felt him kind of do the pull away or the tap, I held. And then I felt his body begin to shake. And then I felt his head on my shoulder and I felt him begin to weep on me. And finally, when I released him from our hug, tears down his face. And what he said to me changed me completely. He said, no one has touched me in more than a year. I haven't felt the touch of another human being in more than a year. Find the value. Face value, facade, only one of us would have been valued in that moment. But there were two people equal in value, equal in what we bring. I would venture to say he brought more richness to his story, to his testimony, to his life, to all that he had been through. I was the benefactor. I wonder if that's who we are. I wonder if we're guilty of the same, valuing people based on color of skin, clothing, success, hairstyle. I come from the 60s, so hairstyle has throughout proven itself to be a way of differentiating, even looking down upon ethnicity, culture. I've heard more open comments in the last 5 years that shocked and stunned me, based on religious affiliation, based on parts of the country one comes from, based on, I don't have to go on, you understand exactly what I mean. And I wonder if when God looks down on his creation, if he segregates us. I wonder if he has us in categories. I wonder if he looks at culture. I read the verse, it says, for God so loved the world that he gifted his only begotten son. And I can't believe for a moment that there was any segregation to the world. So I'm not sure why we do. Jesus Christ, when given opportunity, I'm going to read a little bit. When given the opportunity, he didn't allow those things to come between him. Whether the category is culture, ethnicity, color of skin, or Samaritan, thief, adulteress, much clearer delineation. He didn't allow that to change anything. So all of these standalone sermons, sorry about this, we're going to abbreviate them and bring them all into one. John, the 4th chapter says this: there cometh a woman of Samaria to drink water. And understand, well, I don't have to say understand, she'll tell us. And Jesus said unto her, give me to drink. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. I'll let you read John 4. That's your homework assignment at least. Go back to your homes and read John 4 and watch where this conversation goes. The abbreviated sermon does not come to any crescendo. You'll find that when you go home and read John 4. But the dialogue is rich. Like a young man finding a homeless man on a sidewalk of New York City. The conversation between them is rich. He uses water, drink of water, to symbolize what he brings to this woman. You read it. John 8. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they set her in the midst, set her for all the city to see, set her so that they would have witnesses, paraded her to the center of town, set her humiliated in the midst. Read the verse as it's intended to be read. Set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, and here's the 4 words that are stunning. In the very act. Now we know from what happens later that we're young men among them. When I first read that, I saw that as like old guys peeking in a window, finding her caught in the very act. It just breaks my spirit to read that. But that's what they did. They had the power to do so. They had the rightness to do so. The word had said, if someone is caught in the very act, you can stone him. Now Moses in the law they go on. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. What do you say? What sayest thou? And this they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. Let's see what he says. We got him now. This new leader with this new message. Let's see what he says. In the midst, everyone watching, what's he going to say? Well, we know the story. Again, you're going to go back and read John 8. Now you have 2 homework assignments, John 4, John 8. He goes on to say, taking all the judgment off of him, placing it that each person might do their own introspection, find the value. Can you find the value in an adulterous woman? Can you find the value in a Samaritan? This woman we look down on for her status, for her culture, for her ethnicity, for her region that she came from, for her people. Can he find the value? Without question. Can he find the value in this sinful woman? And he turned it back to those holding the rocks that they were empowered to utilize. He said this to them, he that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her, knowing the theory of riot and what happens. The first one throws that stone, 42 stones are coming right behind it. So whoever is without sin, you throw the first stone, the rest will follow. And what it goes on to say is they slowly, all of them, drop their stones. What it actually says is beginning with the eldest. He who had probably the most sin, he who had the most years, he who hopefully had the most wisdom, dropped them. And it says down to the last, the youngest dropped their stones. And he says to her, woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? And she said, no man. And he said unto her, neither do I condemn. Go and sin no more. Stop what you're doing. Get yourself together. I don't remember how my conversation ended with that man on the street, but I'm thinking it was similar to that. Encouraging him to get back to his family. Certainly not putting myself in the light of Jesus Christ. Don't anyone be confused by that. Homework assignment number 3, Luke 23. When you get home, John 4, John 8, Luke 23. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, if you be Christ, save yourself and save us. Don't just hang there, save us. If you're truly the Christ, save us. But the other answering rebuked the other thief, saying, dost thou not fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? We indeed justly, we're condemned for righteous reasons, he was saying. For we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into the kingdom, into thy kingdom, into your kingdom, That pronoun critical, thy. And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Samaritan, looked down upon, adulterous, worthy of stoning, a thief, worthy of his crucifixion. All of them loved, all of them valued, all of them received. What purpose did Jesus Christ come to this earth with? What did he carry to this earth? What was his cause? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son to save us, but to save us in every way possible. The first saving, rescuing, as Brother Pat said so many weeks ago, the first saving that took place was the saving of our soul. Immediately, instantly. But so much more since. Even the saving of us from ourselves, from our selfishness, from our self-indulgence, from our focus only on us. If we understand the plan of salvation, we understand this. We gain that salvation that we might bring others to that salvation. If you love me, keep my commandments. Not to earn your way into heaven, to show others your thankfulness, your gratitude, your love, your joy. I know I say this date all the time, but I'll say it again because it is my living testimony. July 27th, 1976, I found my salvation. Because God found my value in that day. Now he's empowered me to find your value. Now he's empowered you to find others' value. It's not just the kid who can play the best. Every coach finds that value. It's the kid who can't run a route. We went to a game, not this Friday, but the Friday before. And one of our coaches is a paraprofessional who is only able to be with us on Friday nights. His value is through the ceiling. Probably one of the smartest football minds I've ever met. So understand, his missing all practice, everything until game night does not hinder him from being one of our most valuable coaches on the field. But he doesn't know the kids. So we were doing pregame. They're called quicks. Lonnie was in the center of the kids, rallying them up. And this coach, who will remain nameless because I don't want anyone to mistake, unless I've really told you how great he is, then I'd say his name, but I'm not going to, just in case. And he said to me, is that one? And he pointed to a young fellow. He said, is he brand new? I said, oh, no, no, no. He's been here the entire season. He said, he's doing everything. Like he's learning it tonight. He said, right. And I said, that's our whoever. Anyone can find the value in one of our running backs, one of our receivers. You see them and you say, oh, this just gifts from God dropped onto our team. But what about this one? Do we find the value in this one? That's who we are. We're here to find the value in those who are lost, in the Samaritans, in the thieves, in the adulterers. That's who we're called to find the value in. That's who Jesus Christ found the value in. A tax collector as one of his apostles. The most hated among the people were tax collectors. A tax collector as one of his 12. Find the value. As he was leaving this earth, he said to his people, directly to Peter, but said to his people, he said unto them, Luke 24, he said unto them, we won't add that to your homework, by the way, because it's really just this clip of verses. He said unto them, these are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you. This is the resurrected Jesus Christ reiterating what he had iterated. Understand, these are the words I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Then opened he their understanding, that they might understand the scriptures. And he said unto them, thus it is written, thus it behooveth Christ to suffer, and to rise from the dead on the third day. Why? That repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name among all nations. The great commission of those who have given themselves to Jesus Christ, that all might confess, that all might claim Jesus Christ. How will that happen? Through the hardness of our message, through the steadfastness of you must repent, or will it happen the same way Jesus Christ did for us? Through example, through love, through mercy, through grace, through forgiveness. Oh, I submit it's that. We are called to love, to forgive, not to determine who deserves, who doesn't. Comes from one who was undeserved, one who remains undeserved for anything that God has given him. So who am I to differentiate by category? In order to do that, to fulfill that, requires, in simple terms as possible, requires each of us to find the value. May the Lord bless each one of you in your quest to bring Jesus Christ to the world.